A new report on cyber threats says that staying out of bad neighborhoods may not be enough. I'm Tonya Hall for ZDNet and Tech Republic, and joining me is Einaras Gravrock, CEO at CUJO AI. Welcome, Einaras.
Hi, Tonya. Thank you very much for having us.
So what is CUJO AI known for?
Well, we make sure that the internet that you receive from your ISP, that by the time you consume it, by the time you click on that link, it's protected and safe from threats such as viruses, phishing, and other cybersecurity threats.
You just released a new report called Cybersecurity in 2019, addressing the new types of cyber threats. Before we get into the findings, tell us about the scope of your research. Who did the survey? How many responses? What kind of markets? What are we talking here?
Indeed, we surveyed people mainly in the US, but also worldwide, and we took a look at the population of 1 million homes, took a sample of 2,500 of those homes, random sample, and analyzed the data, asked people, surveyed those people, what their perceptions, what their understanding, what their fears and challenges are with internet security, and we collected all of that, created an annual report.
What kind of numbers are we looking at?
Well, what's most interesting to me is that majority of the people surveyed, they're very well aware and feel informed about cyber threats. But just as many, more than half, do not feel that whatever measures that they can take out there, be it stronger passwords, antivirus, or opening emails from only the people that they know, despite all those, despite the general awareness of the challenges and the problems and how to protect themselves, they do not feel safe on the internet.
We've all heard of phishing as a form of a cyber threat, but your report says that bad actors have taken phishing to a new level. Explain that.
Well, phishing became a massive business, and majority of the threats that we see in general are phishing threats, and they're targeting phones, smart devices, smartphones, that is. So if you think about your own experience, for example, with an iPhone, while the iPhone itself is an extremely safe device, therefore there are promotions about whatever happens on the iPhone stays on the iPhone. Unfortunately, when you click that link, when you're browsing, when you're on the internet, when you get that email, the iPhone and other phones, for that matter, do next to nothing about ensuring that whatever happens after the click, you'll be safe. So majority, I would say, most of the threats that we normally see are exactly that: phishing links, many of them delivered by email, but also populated through advertising. Phishing links that are aimed at smartphones.
Talk about artificial intelligence. How are phishing attackers using AI?
Well, so if you think about the past in terms of cybersecurity, most threats were recorded by human analysts. It was along the lines of, there's a bad neighborhood, don't go there because it's full of threats. That was the equivalent of cybersecurity 10, 15 years ago, and that was what antivirus did. It looked at known bad or possible threats to your computers. It changed a lot. The landscape evolved a lot over the last couple of years. Specifically, the organized criminals, which is what the cyber, which is the people who perform the cyber crimes, they are now using fairly advanced mechanisms to evolve their threats in real time. And instead of creating these bad neighborhoods, if you will, what they do is a little bit like drive-by shooting. They'll spin up malicious sites, phishing sites. They'll spin up new domains, new IP addresses. They'll buy SSL certificates even to make sure that those phishing links are encrypted. And they'll recycle them every 20, 30 minutes. That's a big difference. 15 years ago, you can spin up a virus, a phishing site, and use it for a long time in order to perpetrate crime. Now they've gotten so sophisticated that they can change their footprints in real time every 20 to 30 minutes. It's a massive leap in footprint that cyber criminals have created, using some of the same technologies, by the way, as the good guys: cloud computing, machine learning. So there, that's our world is toe to toe with the bad guys.
Based on your threat intelligence data, what devices receive the most attacks? And is there a disconnect between the data and the user's perception?
There's certainly a disconnect. Users believe that most threats are targeted at things such as their router and their smart TV, etc. In fact, phones, as I was saying, are some of the devices that, and it's not really very scientific. I mean, if you think about your own experience, you mostly access the internet with your phone, right? And that is where most of the threats do occur. What's interesting is very few people thought about their cameras, even though there's been reports about IP cameras especially being hacked. When we surveyed our customers, we asked them, what was your perception? What were the most vulnerable devices? The reality is no one named cameras, no one named external storage devices. But those two, IP cameras and external storage devices, not only are they very easy to hack, but they are being hacked in massive numbers. If you Google hacked IP cameras, you'll probably be able to find in a couple of minutes sites showing real-time feeds from hacked IP cameras. And that is a fact. It is happening. We're seeing that data. It's not something that our surveyed home users recognize.
So what will be the most pressing issues in cybersecurity for 2019?
Well, I mean, there's generally 5 trends that we're seeing. Like I was saying, the phishing kits themselves, they're evolving and they're becoming more and more advanced. So sort of the old school way of analyzing a threat, documenting it, and pushing a new rule into your computer, it doesn't scale anymore because those phishing kits progress too fast. There's a massive incentive to take over your devices without you necessarily knowing about it, meaning remote access attacks. If the bad guys take over your router or your storage device or some other device that has a fair amount of computing power, they can do things such as crypto mining. In other words, they don't need you to know that you've been hacked. All they'll do is they'll use your network, they'll use your throughput, and they'll use your electricity to make money. Now, certainly the threats against smartphones are not going away anywhere, not least because some of the major smartphone makers do not allow conventional endpoint security to be installed on those smartphones. And IoT as a device group in general, those devices are wide open and exposed. So unless you're connecting your IoT devices to a safe network, unless you're getting that clean water from the pipe, which is your ISP, your IoT devices are mostly wide open for the bad guys.
Einaras Gravrock, CEO at CUJO AI. Thanks for taking some time to talk about your recent study. If somebody wants to connect with you, maybe they want to get a copy of that report, how can they do that?
They can email me directly, evg@cujo.com, or they can find me at Twitter, @Einaras.
All right. And if you guys want to find more of my interviews, I'm right here on ZDNet or Tech Republic, or go to my website, tonyahall.net. Thanks for watching.